Hello, friends, and welcome to Pod Return to the Waking Sands. We are a Final Fantasy XIV companion podcast.
Inquiry podcast extraordinaire, where we explore the lore and story of Hildibrand and beyond.
Your name is... If you're going to do it, do it.
Your name is Jen.
Oh my god. My name is Jen, and this interloper is...
Levi. Well, Jen, not very inquiring if you don't know my name. Starting off hot.
Something. Like, my rhythm is I'm all fucked up now. I don't know where I am anymore.
We are continuing with the A Realm Reborn Hildibrand saga.
Yes, we are.
With the 3 collectors. But first, what happened last time, Jen?
Last time, our gentlemanly inspector clawed himself out of a grave, made a zombie gang of dapper dudes, was discovered, cleaned up, dressed, and put on a brand new case of the missing sword and the missing hair, and then the other missing sword and the other missing swords. A lot of stuff going on. We did find the hair, and that's about it.
Great. Thank you for the recap, Jen.
You betcha.
So we resume now with the reporter Ellie, who has a scoop on this duelist's target, the one who is challenging people and stealing their blades. This time, the duelist is apparently after the treaty blade. This blade in 14 is a former possession of an Ishgardian noble that is now going to be entered into the hoard of an Ul'dan collector. Side note, though, the treaty blade originated in Final Fantasy XII, at least in the series.
Oh, today I learned.
Anyway, this collector in 14, the collector in question is a merchant's wife in Vesper Bay.
So Ellie wants to ingratiate herself with this woman in case 1, she's actually the thief. 2, the thief appears during the transfer of this collectible. And apparently this woman is real difficult, kind of a bitch. And Ellie's idea is to give her some of her favorite flowers, which can be purchased at Camp Drybone.
Which apparently is a lie, as we'll soon find out.
Well, she likes them, but she sees through it. It's a manipulation. Like, I'd be like, I know why you're giving me this flower. Just out with it. Tell me what it is you fucking want.
But before that happens, we swing by Camp Drybone to pick up some flowers, and we overhear an altercation. An unknown voice demands, was it for love or money that you killed him?
Oh.
An unknown person is interrogating a so-called merchant. The merchant swears it was the Amalja that killed him, but the mystery man cuts down this defense. The Amalja don't shoot unarmed merchants in the back. They capture and temper them. If you're going to lie, put some effort into it. Or at least don't wave your bow-calloused hands in my face. So, this interrogator asks again, was it because he took from you your share or your sister?
Oh.
The merchant disguised murderer breaks and says, you don't touch a man's kin. He knew that, and yet he trails off, collapsing on the ground, as the investigator says, take him away to the Camp Drybone guards.
Wow, hey, look at that. An inspector with some competencies. He really deduced the shit out of that shit. And Ellie is like, fucking, what a breath of fresh air. Also, why are there suddenly all sorts of inspectors? Just, is this like the new jam? Is this what everybody's hot for inspecting? And the flower vendor was like, oh, no, he does this as a hobby. This is not even like his job. His job is being, his job, quote unquote. It is said that he's a member of one of the Ishgardian high houses. And maybe even like a baron. But he does this for free. And Ellie is like, yeah, unlike that buffoon Hildibrand. And, oh, no, the floral vendor says that.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, this person is good, unlike that buffoon Hildibrand. And Ellie was like, you know what? I don't think we want to talk about Hildibrand right now. That's fine. But now that we got our flowers, let's go to Vesper Bay and try to
ingratiate.
Get in there with this lady.
We arrive in Vesper Bay, and I am out of Aetheryte tickets at this point, Jen.
Oh, they're long gone. They're so far gone.
They patched it to give you bucket loads after we started this, Jen. By some months, we missed the horde of like lifetime Vesper Bay tickets. But we arrive and we seek out our collector. She is in a large house, probably the largest home in Vesper Bay. This is a blonde woman with a blue-gray tunic and a red and white head wrap named Dorilda.
Tales of her brusqueness were not exaggerated. She rebukes us at every turn. The flowers, they're a manipulation. The warning is redundant. She reads the mithril eye. She is informed. Shut the fuck up. And she has a legion of guards at her disposal in case anything were to happen during the transfer of this collectible. So what the fuck are you doing here? Get out of my house. And even if all of these things were to fail, she has hired an inspector to preemptively strike at the thief. Just then, a knock at the door.
She declares, "Now look on my peerless inspector, interlopers, and despair."
Goddamn, we're just trying to, make sure you get to keep your stuff that you bought.
The door...
Rude.
The door bursts open.
Dorilda is like, oh my god, he's here, yay! She beams with anticipation.
Ships that pass in the night. A signal shown in darkness. The lady cries out for a guardian, and a gentleman must needs oblige. I swear to you here and now, I, Hildibrand, agent of inquiry, inspector extraordinaire, shall neither slumber nor sleep until the fiend who covets the treaty blade is brought to justice.
Oh. Sigh. Hildibrand wonders why we are also here. Perhaps we are in search of the thief? Perhaps we are in search of him? Dorilda is aghast at the prospect of her hiring such ineptitude.
As if she would spend a single gil on an insufferable, another voice cuts in from the outside. To be fair, you are not spending a single gil upon me. The chance to investigate such an intriguing case is payment enough.
Okay, so she did hire our competent Ishgardian friend, and he's working pro bono. Amazing. His name is Briardien.
Consulting Inspector. This
Conniving Inspector? Hildibrand tries to clarify. Consulting, corrects Briardien.
Briardien is an Elysian, said to be from Ishgard, as we know. He is wearing a blue tunic and rimless spectacles. Briardien pushes up his spectacles, and the lenses flash with a little swing of light.
That's his... Okay, so Hildibrand has the flex. Briardien has this pushing up of the glasses on the bridge of his nose maneuver. When he walks in, he smells. He goes, rotting flesh and saltpeter. Hildibrand Manderville and Nashu Makaraka, I presume? Like, oh man, this guy is just so impressive. Look at him. Look at him. He's like fucking Sherlock Holmes up in here. Smelling people and stuff.
Dorilda is trying to dismiss Hildibrand as her actual good inspector is here. But just then, a little girl arrives. This is a little blonde girl in a blue and white dress, bearing a satchel. Her name is Maria. As soon as she gets here, Dorilda demands to know where her vase is. Maria answers, there was a strange flying thing, and then she dropped the vase in the water. And Dorilda flips out. That vase belonged to the Royal House of Thorn. You will go back and find it, or you will not return at all.
Yeah, that's fucked up. So...
This is her daughter. It's not actually clarified until the very end of this segment, but she's treating her daughter like this.
Right. I guess we assumed that she was like a urchin help or something.
That's how Dorilda treats her, is like she's an urchin she's hired.
Right, yeah. She's very, retiring and shy and intimidated by this woman. Oh, okay, it's your daughter. Well, that's bullshit. So Hildibrand steps in. He's like, I will help find the vase. She just mentioned the presence of a wild beast, so I am going to help. And then he does his, like, flexy, thinky, wah thing that he does. And he says this out loud. And doing so will earn Dorilda's respect, and she will allow me to work on the duelist case as a result. A cunning plan. And Ellie's like, not when you fucking say it out loud. Ugh, okay. Well, in any case.
Hildibrand volunteers everyone here to work on this case now, but Ellie stays behind. She's here to actually do her job.
No, she's gonna follow Briardien.
Yeah.
Like, duh.
So everyone else, though, that's us, Nashu, Maria, and Hildibrand, we head for the place where the vase was lost. This is Nofika's Well, the river that cuts through the middle of western Thanalan. So we hit up the area and ask around about vase sightings, and there's not to report from the locals besides sightings of a strange winged beast. But once we reach the water itself, we find a flamboyant oaf, a large fellow in poofy, tattered red clothing, sporting black horns. His skin is pale, and he has streaks of red face paint on his face.
He also has a green chicken friend.
Yeah. He is cursing as he sits in the water, that thieving demon bird. He also curses the infernal refuse underfoot.
Yeah, he keeps, everywhere he steps, it's like pointy bits of stuff.
Pointy
like,
bits of the vase.
Of the vase.
The gang arrives, and the large fellow, to his credit, asks if the vase belongs to the child, and he apologizes once he realizes what he's done. He was so engrossed in his search that he did not notice, because he's trying to find a demon bird that has absconded with his weapon. Maria is sad about this vase destruction. Guess she's an orphan for real now. But Hildibrand is on the case.
She'll be fine.
As the rising sun doth dispel the dark, so shall his solution resolve our dilemma.
So his brilliant solution is collecting the sherds of pot. So we all go around in this little bit of water and we're collecting the bits, and we hand them to Hildibrand, and he's like, okay, I know exactly where to take this pile of vase. The hammer. A goldsmith of legend. He once thwarted an entire roving band of robbers and beat them to a pulp. And the flamboyant oaf is intrigued. I like hanging out with scary dudes. I would like to join your band of whatever the fuck is going on here. And so he does.
He introduces himself as Gilgamesh, and the green chicken is his companion Enkidu. Well, not really. It's been many moons since he saw her, so to ease the burden of loneliness, Gilgamesh tamed a rooster and painted it green. A pleasure to meet you, Gilligan, says Hildibrand. Gilgamesh graciously says that we can call him Gil if it's easier. An excellent suggestion, Greg. Playful monikers are an effective means of building camaraderie.
All right, so Greg it is.
Introductions fumbled. We head now to northern Thanalan, where this goldsmith is probably out gathering materials.
So now we're on the hunt for the hammer. And we're following a trail north of Camp Blue Fog. And we're following a trail of various carcasses of beasts. So just north of Blue Fog, we find a recently bludgeoned Doblin. And the bloody footprints head north, where Greg has found a dead basilisk, also with a goldsmith's hammer sticking out of its head. And Hildibrand, a little farther down, found a dead Ahriman, also with a goldsmith's hammer in its head. And then just down the trail from there is an enormous fucking chimera carcass with 3 goldsmith hammers in each of its heads. Clearly, our man is near, and Hildibrand now addresses the crowd, which is, it's all of us. It's not like a crowd of randos, it's all of us. Due to extenuating circumstances, he must betray an oath. He must dance. And this is when he busts out the Manderville dance and the little song that goes with it. And then so this is a song he's singing, and then imagine it going along with some like I can't even describe it.
Gyrations.
I can't even describe. Yeah, undulations, gyrations.
Even if you have not done this quest yourself, you've seen someone doing this dance, like waiting for a trial to pop or something.
On our data center, there is someone that has been camped out at the Old Aetherite for, I think, a solid year at this point. They are a sage, and they have just AFK'd in front of the Aetherite Plaza this whole time doing that fucking dance. I'm like, why?
Why not?
Are you on like sabbatical for a year and then you're going to come back and actually play this game? Ridiculous. All right, so the song, as it goes, this is what he's singing to try to draw out his quarry. I'm a Manderville man, doing what only a Manderville can, from the peaks of Kurthis to Thanalan, Manderville man.
Beautiful. But Hildibrand breaks, stumbling.
Oh, he didn't stretch. Oh, his legs are so out of practice. Alas. Well, we must perform the dance in his stead, in defiance of long-standing Manderville family tradition. But it must be done. So we walk over to the dead chimera, and fuck it, we dance. And soon enough, an almost naked man, like...
Yes.
We don't get that until fucking, 6.55?
Oh my god. Like a meteor, a near-naked muscular man descends from the heavens, crashing into the ground with tremendous force.
Also ease, like he Avengers the shit out of that. This man is not just muscular, he is in peak physical condition. Peak. Yeah, okay, everybody calm down. He is not to be feared. The only thing that should fear him is the chimera, and it's dead. He introduces himself as Godbert Manderville. He wonders how the hell we knew about the Manderville dance. If he didn't teach it to us, then who did?
Hildibrand has been trying to make himself very inconspicuous. He has broken from the group. He has his back turned. He's trying to blend into the landscape.
Away.
But
Godbert is like, zoop.
Hildibrand looks behind him, his eyes wide, teeth chattering. He turns back around nonchalantly and then makes a break for
Books it. This is some Coyote and Roadrunner, right? I wanted to say Peacock because of the coloring.
Godbert exclaims, "By the grace of Tal, he yet lives. Hildibrand, Helidor, Maximilian Manderville." And Godbert gives chase. The two run at impossible speeds. We get a slow motion moment in the middle, with Hildy looking over his shoulder in terror at the advancing Godbert, who determinedly thumps his way towards Hildibrand.
This is... I saw this animation, not even an animation, a still of this moment months before I ever did Hildibrand anything. Like, we all knew who Godbert was. But this is the moment I think that will it's so iconic. I think this like, you know, like sprinting Godbert, but he still looks just so like focused and serene and in control. We are terrified for Hildibrand in this moment. And of course, Godbert catches up, bear hugs him from behind, bends over backwards, body slams him into the ground, and...
It's called a suplex, Jen.
Suplex. Oh, that's classic. It's classic.
He suplexes Hildibrand into the ground,
not a train.
Waist up.
Yeah. And then, this is when Godbert, the father, admonishes the son. 10 years! He cries. It's been 10 years since Hildibrand left home, and 5 years since his trip to Dalamud. How long did he intend to hide the fact that he was actually alive from his parents? And everybody's like, oh, so he's his dad. Okay. So things are kind of starting to make sense here. Some of these family hijinks that's going on. So Godbert, he does a little song, a little bit of a twist on the old classic, but does the dance. And he's just like singing and dancing. And Hildibrand is like, please stop with your undulations.
Cease your undulations, father.
I mean, if I had a nickel. And asks him, you know, we have bigger fish to fry right now. We need you to fix little Maria's vase.
It's no problem, says Godbert.
Oh, yeah.
He's dealt with worse cases before his morning bowel movement.
I believe it. And he pulls a beautiful hammer out of somewhere and makes quick work of the vase. He just sets up shop right there and boop-a-doop, 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 boom.
And
brand new
blam,
vase.
historic relic restored.
Except, oh wait, oh you think I'm done? Here I go. Bayergite, bless my, how do you say
Bayergott, yes.
Bayergott, bless my hammer. And then he goes at it some more, and then boom, he's created a whole new, different fucking vase.
This is a $5 lacquered up gold paint on the rim vase.
I feel like it's, okay, so now it's no longer an antique because he basically took like a beautiful like Queen Anne chair, sanded it down, painted it white, and then, I don't know, added bedazzles to it. But like in a good way. I want to say because this is Godbert and he has such skill as a goldsmith, he actually made something very beautiful, but he fucked up the antiqueness of this thing. If he took this to Antiques Roadshow, they'd be like, you ruined this. It's worthless now. That's what he did.
Everyone is horrified, but Godbert insists he has transformed it into something far superior.
Absolutely.
Were you paying attention, Hildibrand? When did you last hold a hammer?
Well, Hildy's like, Dad, my path is the path of the inspector. We've talked about this. And I am on the hunt for the thieving duelist. And Greg perks up and he's like, ooh, I am also a duelist of sorts. And I would gladly pit my skills against this other dude if and when you find him. And Hildy's like, yeah, man, that sounds great.
So we return to Vesper Bay, handing over the much improved vase to Dorilda.
So there's the little mouse over, with the flavor text on the item. Did you notice this?
I did not.
So when you mouse over, the note on the vase says, if every component of an object were to be replaced, could the resulting object be fundamentally considered the same? Philosophers are unsure. Godbert does not care. So obviously Dorilda is not okay.
This gaudy trash bears no resemblance to the vase. Gaudy trash challenges someone. In barges Godbert.
Godbert, he's put some clothes on. Not a lot of clothes on, but some clothes on.
He's wearing a full coat and shorts.
And like bike shorts, like 3-inch inseam bike shorts.
They feel more like tuxedo shorts or something.
Absolutely not. These are boy shorts. Okay?
You're a boy shorts,
tight.
Jen.
They're very comfortable as like underwear, but we don't wear this in public, but Godbert does for reasons. But he has like shoes on. He's got like some calf high socks because that would normally be concealed by normal trousers. That's not happening here. Anyway, so he walks in and he's like, gaudy trash.
You don't like my reconstruction? Dorilda immediately flips her stance in the presence of such an important person. She says, I don't like it. I love it. That's a relief, says Godbert. We Mandervilles strive for professional perfection. But why am I repeating what my son doubtlessly told you when he offered to help investigate the duelist threat?
Oh, right. You're right. Yeah.
Dorilda stammers. I don't recall if he used those precise words, but I do remember thinking his help would be most welcome.
Yeah, so she's going to make this gaudy trash the centerpiece of her Thorn Dynasty collection. And, Hildibrand is now officially a part of the team.
Reporter Ellie did not know Hildibrand's familial association, surprisingly. Maybe she should be a better reporter.
Well, he has been, dead for a while. And she was probably, just coming up. So if she's been a reporter for, a year...
Get your facts straight.
But also, yes. I think the first moment she met this guy, she'd be like, what the fuck?
But
how the fuck?
Ellie realizes that Hildibrand is the son of Lord Godbert Manderville, who took Eoland Quiveron's seat on the syndicate.
Yeah, this is a guy.
So we know that name, Quiveron.
We do.
Because Quiveron's manse is a landmark in central Thanalan. We have to go there during the early Ul'dah MSQ.
Yeah, there's a little band of Lalafels up there who are pretty tough, actually.
Quiveron died, and his summer mansion, which is the place that's in ruins now that has bandits everywhere. This is his former summer home that was, of course, abandoned once he died. So that's the connection to our very early on trash fight.
Yeah. As soon as they were like, who something quiver on, I'm like, wait a second. I have bad memories of this place.
That place is very rough, actually. It's one of the hardest pieces of content in the early game.
Yeah, exactly. I died a lot.
Yeah, there are so many goddamn bandits, and they're all ranged, too.
And the fact that you have this elevation issue.
Yeah.
So you've got to, sneak one and then pull them way the back down off the cliffs. Otherwise, he's going to attract literally everybody else up there, and you will just die repeatedly. Anyway, so thank you, Mr. Quiveron.
Thanks for nothing. Anyway, Hildibrand says we must get to work. The first order of business is to review the facts with consenting Inspector Briardien. We meet the inspector outside, giving him the bad news that Hildy is back on the case. Fine, he says. The plans are at a point where Hildibrand can't ruin them anyway.
Well, first, God, there's just so many little things. So Briardien wonders, why we're still here. And, but Hildy says, Lady Dorilda just asked us to assist with the investigation. Therefore, I'm going to need you to share all of your information with me. I'm waiting. And Briardien's like, fine. We're so far along the planning, you couldn't possibly fuck this up. So here we go. So Briardien had a bunch of decoy treaty blades made. And each one is going to be transported along a unique path from the observatorium to Vesper Bay in a variety of different parties. There's 7 of these things. When the thief strikes, they will apprehend him, at which point the real blade will get transferred, and Bob's your ankle, shit is done.
Right. So all of the swords are decoys right now.
I think I said Bob's your ankle.
You did.
Bob's your uncle.
You know the saying, Bob's your ankle. He got these counterfeits from a merchant named Jojampa.
Oh, we know him.
Yes. Last time he said, though, that he throws away all the counterfeits he gets, but apparently he throws them away for money into the hands of other people.
Well, now the commission was for him to make them.
The Briardien says that Jojampa traffics in counterfeit antiques. That stood out to me. My inspector sense tingled because I was like, objection. Last time Jojampa said every time he gets a counterfeit, he throws it into a lake.
Well, if he's got a client saying, I will buy all of these counterfeit treaty blades from you, he'd be like, oh, well, okay, I'm not throwing them in the lake. The literal
line that Briardien, that competent Inspector Briardien says, is that Jojampa traffics in counterfeit antiques. I'm just saying the facts don't add up here. Something sussy in the works.
Let's just leave that. Let's just let that lie. Okay. So, I mean, technically he does.
Don't come crying to me when you can't solve the case, Jen.
Oh my God. Anyway, so at this point he's like, y'all are superfluous. Hildy flexes.
Sadly.
Wordlessly. Well, when Hildy does the sad flex, everybody feels sorry for him. So Briardien is like, you know what? All right. If you can promise to behave, you can act as lookouts on one of these routes, as quote-unquote small folk. So Hildy asks then, okay, Briardien, do you know what the thief looks like? And Ellie is like, why didn't you fucking ask Humphrey, the guy that actually fought the guy, lost, and was injured? Whatever. Anyway, Briardien says, the thief is a towering brute, dressed in red, and wielding a halberd. Oh, this is great news. Such a man will be easily spotted in Kurthus.
Briardien says, come or don't, I don't really care. We don't need you. And his crew leaves. Just then,
a towering brute dressed in red, but no halberd walks up.
That's correct. Sorry I'm late, says Gilgamesh. Hildibrand is pleased to inform him that we know the description of the duelist. The description is a towering brute dressed in, he pauses for a long time, a ridiculous outfit.
Aha!
Greg scoffs, and he's intrigued. What reason would a warrior have for wearing impractical clothing?
Right?
So we head to the observatorium to find out.
So before we leave, though, Hildy summarizes the plan, and I quote, our destination is the observatorium, and our mission is to pose as goodly small folk in accordance with Inspector Briardien's instructions. Naturally, should the situation demand improvisation, we are to disregard those instructions. Any questions? No? Then let us sally forth at once.
We get there, and we find a guard who is manning a wagon right now, preparing to head out, I'm assuming. And we say we're here to help. They say fine.
As soon as Hildy walks up to this dude, he's a sergeant, by the way, Hildy is like, hello, are you one of the guys that's going to be carrying the counterfeit treaty blade? And the guy's like, I don't know what you're talking about, sir. Like, Jesus Christ, dude. And then Briardien's like, it's fine. He's with us. Please keep an eye on him.
But the sellsword has to go pee or something, so he leaves us alone for a moment with the wagon. Just as the guard leaves, the sergeant, Jin, leaves. Gilgamesh arrives to tell us that he's on the job. He will shout if he finds the thief. Gilgamesh leaves, and the guard returns. So we get to work. We investigate the area, checking in with the guards and Ellie. Meanwhile, Gilgamesh and Enkidu dart around the area, accidentally evading everyone's notice but Hildibrand and Nashu's.
It's amazing.
Eventually, after multiple close calls, Gilgamesh seems to think he's found the beast that stole his weapon, and he's off in pursuit. Meanwhile, Hildibrand gets impatient and determines that he will take the fight to the duelist who might be lurking in the wilds outside. And Nashu offers to help. She's found a halberd. This is the very same gun halberd that blasted Hildibrand into the heavens and led to his supposed death. And it was apparently out here, buried in the snow.
Like, where the fuck did you get that? It was just buried in the snow, like right here. Cool, right?
But Hildibrand declares this is the will of destiny, and he claims the spear for himself.
All right, so now Hildy's sporting the spear. Gun spear.
We head off, the three of us, Warrior of Light, Hildibrand, and Nashu, to a nearby mound of snow to stake out. Once we get there, Gilgamesh joins us, swearing that he saw a demon bird, but it was a different demon bird than the one that stole his weapon. Nevertheless, he knows his weapon is close by. You sense it, don't you, Chicken Enkidu? The scene now proceeds to fast forward in like bits and pieces. It's like zoop.
Yeah, we're like, it's a montage of waiting, you know? We're all like in various stages of repose and fatigue.
Gilgamesh never looks directly at the halberd carrying Hildibrand during this stakeout. Until Hildibrand asks Greg, why do you covet your weapon so?
Like, oh man, because it's awesome. And then Greg goes on to describe every last detail of the gun halberd that's sitting less than a yalm from everybody at this point.
A spear with an axe blade, to which was melded a musket barrel. 'Twas one of the first ones he added to his collection when he arrived in these lands, the strongest of spears. Hildibrand is looking his own weapon up and down during this description, and he finally gets a clue and starts to panic. Just then, Enkidu waddles up and begins to cluck loudly at the spear.
She's like, oh my god, it's right here, you assholes. And then Greg stands up and is like, you know, hey, Enkidu, like, what's the drama? And then he's looking at the spear and he's like, wait a second.
That weapon of yours bears a striking resemblance to... Hildibrand, though, is quick to deny. He claimed this weapon 5 years ago. Surely you can't be serious. Gilgamesh replies, and now you call me Shirley? Give it to me. And now they get into a tug of war of the weapon.
Oh, yeah. It was like wacky sound effects and crazy facial expressions. And like, so Hildibrand like pulls in and he's like, this thing shot me into the red moon. How dare you? And then Greg pulls it and he's like, this allowed me to conquer all sorts of dudes in battle. And then Hildy pulls it again. He's like, yeah, but I got to fly in the heavens with it. And then it's just like back and forth and back and forth.
And our character, we're watching them with our head going left, right, left, right. The impasse is finally broken by Briardien, Ellie, and Co. arriving. Ellie can't believe she's saying this, but well done, Inspector. We've caught the weapon thief in the act.
Wait. But Hildy, still holding on to the other half of the spear, looks at her and he's like, no. You are fucked up, girlfriend. Greg would never hurt a fly. He's never stolen a weapon in his life. I don't know what you're talking about. And Greg is like, yeah, I've never stolen anything. I won these fair and square by challenging dudes in single combat and taking their weapon when they lose.
Hildibrand nods with certainty, then pauses.
Oh.
He finally realizes that Greg is the duelist. But at this point, Gilgamesh yanks the halberd from Hildibrand while Briardien's men move to seize the thief.
Briardien's like, well, that was a confession. Seize him. And Greg is like, never! And he runs off toward Griffin Crossing. And Briardien's like, that's fine. We have that shit on lockdown. He's going nowhere. And he asks, and of course, Hildy is like, well, I mean, obviously, I coaxed him into a confession, and everything is going totally correct. And Briardien asks us, like, hey, you're like the only person who could possibly do this.
Yes, he says, I know who you are. I know that you're the warrior of light.
Yay! He's like, you're the only one who could feasibly approach Greg or Gilgamesh and, you know, defeat him in battle. Even then, you might need, like, some buddies. So do that.
We give pursuit, arriving at the bridge at Griffin's Crossing. Outside, we find Hildibrand, who apparently tried to stop Greg and got planted head down in the snow.
Yep, this is the classic Hildy way of being.
Way of being. We step onto the bridge. The camera sweeps across a massive stone span that towers miles above a snowy chasm. The bridge, though, is broken. It stops midway through. Our character steps onto it, passing through abandoned rooms in the bridge's towers. We move to open a wooden door onto the next crossing when it bursts open on its own. Behind it is Gilgamesh. Yes, it was I. Behind these doors was me the whole time. Long did he wonder what our role was in all this. But at last he understands. We are fated to duel. Best him and we get the spear. Fail and our lives are forfeit. He grants us leave to bring in allies to our duel. It will avail us to no advantage. Because, for Gilgamesh, it is embiggening time.
Embiggening time!
He punches towards the heavens and swells to thrice his normal size.
He was already, you know, towering.
Our character looks on with a stunned expression.
Oh my God, Jesus.
And so, we unlock the battle on the big bridge, a trial just for Hildibranders. These days, this fight is pretty easy, but we'll be running all of the Hildibrand trials on min eye level at the end of the series so we can get the true gritty experience. The battle begins on the first bit of bridge. This is very goofy. This is some great, well-fitting music for this fight.
Yep. I don't remember it at all.
You'll hear it when you proof it.
All right.
I went in as White Mage. I have for my White Mage portrait that, like, Mandrake head whatever staff.
Oh,
that is for my face.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is the perfect portrait
staff so bad.
for this trial.
Yeah.
What about you, Jin?
No, I went as Summoner because I was scared. I did all the Hildibrand stuff as Black Mage, but then I chickened out.
You chickened out, Jin?
Chickened out. Yeah.
Did you and Keto out?
No. I knew you were going to say that.
Wouldn't I say that?
I don't. Correct. It's in your DNA.
Rude.
Yeah, so, I mean, I did actually think about doing it as White Mage, because I was like, I feel like this queue is going to be really long. It didn't end up being very long. It was like maybe 9 minutes.
Nice. This one's a crapshoot because
I've definitely waited like 32 minutes.
Well, the pool of players for this is much more limited than most trials because not everyone has played Hildibrand. More so now than before because they made it mandatory for the Endwalker relic. But still, like, I've been in queue for this for a long time for like Hildibrand trials because it's just a smaller player pool in general.
So I was pleasantly surprised, despite, queuing it as a DPS.
Nice.
So I had a player from Japan in the group, and so they posted messages in Japanese, which I had to go translate, and they were very nice. They were like, "Thank you for your hard work," and GGs and all that stuff. And I was like, that makes sense. It's like 10 a.m. my time, so it'll be what, 1 a.m. their time, something like that.
I don't recall the conversion.
I don't remember either. Anyway, so
yeah, we arrive on the big bridge. The fight begins on a circular stone tower, essentially. It's like a flat top of a tower that forms the supports for the bridge spans. This first bit is pretty straightforward. So we beat on Gilgamesh directly. He can make a player mini, which will nerf their stats, and it's a nice inversion to his embiggening. He does some insmallening. He can also turn a player into a frog, and he 6 Enkidu on them.
It's so fun. And all the while, he's ranting and raving and like, "You will never defeat me," and other such things. And it's very fun.
And we win. We beat him down, and he surrenders and grovels before us.
Not! Ha! I lied!
Not.
He's got another round in him. He retreats further along the bridge, cursing his spear for not being as powerful as he thought.
Yep, blame the spear. Blame the spear.
So we pursue him down the bridge, fighting a few trash enemies along the way until we get to the final showdown. Here, Gilgamesh adds a couple new tricks to his repertoire. He will now start to summon whirlwinds on the ground, which do a lot of damage if you stand in them, which multiple people did on my run.
Oops.
So I had to heal through people fighting inside the whirlwinds.
They're probably like, whatever.
Yeah, as I'm spamming Medica 1 to
adjust.
keep the group alive during this. He will also cast confusion on some players, making them auto-attack their allies. If you confusion target an ally who is standing in a whirlwind, then both people take whirlwind damage. In case you were wondering, Jen. Ask me how I know.
So, if the person I am under the effects of confusion, if I am attacking an ally and they move, do I follow them?
Yes.
Fuck. Okay. So I was... So the first time I got confused, so this last segment, I got confused twice in a row, which is a solid minute of doing fuck all, except, auto smacking a friend. So the first time, one of these, I was smacking a dude, and one of these whirlwinds appeared, and my guy wouldn't move. I'm like, "Hey man, if you just scooted 3 feet that way, we would not be standing in the shit anymore." Didn't move.
Well, I'm glad it happened to both of us, Jen. That's some consolation.
If you could just scooch, I'll follow you, and then I won't get smacked. I'm already getting damaged by being confused, and now I'm getting come on. But at the same time, it's also there's no stakes in this fight.
Yeah,
they're all like, "You'll be fine," and everybody was fine. But it's still, I don't know. It still just felt wrong to me.
Yes.
But it also felt wrong that I got hit twice in a row with the confusion. So that entire last bit, I could do nothing. I could just sit there and watch myself be confused for 60 solid seconds. And then the fight was over, and I'm like, okay, great, good game. GG's.
Well, Jen, you soaked a confused for someone else, so good job there.
I mean, that's fine, but when you're doing Hildibrand, there's nothing going on except a bunch of cutscenes, and sometimes after a while, you're like, I actually just want to do stuff now. Please
understand.
Let me play a game. So the one chance, I'm like, yes, a battle on the big bridge. All right, here we go. I can push some buttons and do some stuff. For some reason in my memory, I thought this was a much harder fight, and I was probably thinking of a different trial later on in the series. And I'm like, this was so breezy. It was not a challenge at all, but I was still bummed that after all of that, I had to sit there and just not touch my keyboard and do nothing while I hit a bro.
Yes, I'm poking fun at you, Jen, but it does suck. They should not lock a player out of action for that long.
No, I totally get it.
And it should not be 30 seconds or a minute.
How about
either
12
way.
seconds?
Yes.
How about 12 seconds?
Yep.
That's also a real long time. 30
Agree.
seconds is egregious, dude.
Agree and agree.
Anyway.
At any rate, though, we collectively defeat Greg, but he is not out. He's down but not out. He resolves to fight us another day, but he's at the end of the bridge. He can't run further. We think we have him, but he grabs onto Enkidu's legs and he leaps off the edge. The chicken begins to flap them away.
And for a hot second, we think it's going to happen. We think that Enkidu is going to carry Greg off into the sunset. But no. No, they just fall.
They fall into the abyss in a flurry of green feathers. Our character looks horrified as the Duty Complete music plays.
Well then, that's enough of a beating for now.
So great. Love Greg. Like for real, love Greg.
Rip Greg.
He's so funny.
Can't believe he's dead.
Did he actually die?
Yes, he's dead.
Does he not come back later? I feel like he comes back later. Who does?
He fell off a cliff, Jen.
Okay.
We're like a mile above the ground. No one could survive that fall, Jen.
No one can survive that fall.
We can't.
Rip our friend Greg.
Back outside, we find Hildibrand lying in a heap. Weapons are lying on the ground too. Nashu remarks that these were dropped by Greg, and they're all counterfeit. What's going on here?
What is going on here? Jojon Pa. Probably not him.
In any case, we seem to have won. Briardien orders us to proceed with the real treaty blade delivery.
Yeah, we good, because Greg's out of the picture, so game on.
Yeah.
So we all head back to Vesper Bay, and we hand over the treaty blade to Dorilda, and she is stoked. What a jewel in the collection. Yada yada yada. We congratulate ourselves, pats on the backs, etc. And we go to part ways when Dorilda walks up and wonders why we didn't wait for her at the docks. And we're like, because we just gave you your shit.
We stare at her in confusion. Briardien bolts after the double.
He's like, oh, fuck. And so he's like, shit. And he attempts to run after the fake Dorilda. But, he's like looking all around. All he finds is a fake Dorilda mask lying on the ground.
This is a weird flesh-colored mask lying on the cobbles in Vesper Bay.
So that's a bummer. And
Ellie now puts it together. The man in red wasn't after the treaty blade, just the halberd. More, he issued the challenges in person. He did not use a card. He just went up to someone and said, hey, let's fight.
Yeah, let's
for
fight.
Your weapon.
Let's fight, bro.
At this point, I'm assuming he's pissed off that he fucked up, but Briardien gets insulting. He gets very angry and kind of scowly, and he says, what, you haven't figured it out? What's it like in your puny little brains?
You must be so bored. Which is a really, really great insult. Because, at this point, Hildy and Nashu are still like, what does it mean? But but yeah, so these are two different people, guys.
But just then, our character senses something in the distance.
Whoop.
There is a hush and a whoosh as a card comes flying out.
I love this
missing
so much.
Us narrowly.
It's like, so just like before, this card goes flying through the air, slow-mo, directly at the group of us standing there.
It misses Godbird, who is doing the Manderville dance.
He dances just right at the right moment, and it goes sailing past him.
It misses Nashu, who is falling asleep standing up again. She tips alarmingly over, and the card goes sailing past her head. It misses Hildibrand, who is flexing.
Classic.
And it thunks right into Briardien's head.
It embeds itself like an inch into his forehead, and he's like, okay. And then he collapses to the ground, and he's like, ah! Ah! And Hildy walks over and goes like, Like, just pulls it right out of his face.
Saying, I believe this is addressed to me.
Of course, one of your admirers, Hildy, for sure.
Condescending Inspector Briardien. Briardien snaps, though, and yanks it back from Hildy and reads the card.
He tells him to piss off.
Yeah, he is pissed off right now.
Piss off when he reads them.
The card reads, 400 years have I slept. 1,000 faces do I wear. What is yours will be mine. I shall come to claim the Lapis Maiden's virtue.
Oh.
Briardien rises, about to declare an answer to the challenge, but Hildibrand interposes himself in front of the camera, declaring, I, and I alone, Hildibrand, Agent of Inquiry, Inspector Extraordinaire, once more accept your challenge. Behind him, Briardien's face spasms involuntarily.
His eye starts to twitch.
Yeah.
He can't take any more of this asshole. And then Hildy kind of picks up on that and books it. But Briardien is like, no, motherfucker. And then they start chasing themselves around the statue of Lord Laredo. Just around and around and around. And he's like, you'll never catch me. Ha ha. Or whatever. And Briardien is... So as they're running around, the rest of us are just watching them do this. And Maria starts laughing. Because, yes, it is funny and it's ridiculous. And Dorilda looks at her and is... She probably wants to say something like, well, she does say something like, this isn't funny. I just lost my how many millions of gil antique. But then she stops herself and he's like, you know what? This is actually funny. This is actually funny. You can be a child in this moment. You can laugh at this. And then she's like, you know what? We haven't gone to a show in a while, so let's just go to Ilda after this, just you and me. And yay, she's an actual mom in this moment. So that's great. And Godbert is watching his son run around the statue. And he's like, he is very impressed with his son's stamina. He's like, yes, indeed, Manderville man.
The scene ends with a mystery person surveilling the commotion from an upper balcony.
Same dude. Just
we don't know.
Naked void man.
It could be anyone.
Well, he 1,000 faces, right? Yeah, but again, he looks like just like one of the mannequins we see when we're doing our.
I think
our
this is a
quests.
stand-in for a person and not their actual appearance.
I disagree.
I bet you dinner, Jen. Bet you dinner and drink before recording.
Well, you've done more of this, so that's not fair.
Either accept the bet,
I'm going to have this conversation under the assumption that we are at the same spot in this story, that you have not done any Hildibrand in real life past this point. So your theory is...
This is not my first playthrough.
I know. So my theory is, from somebody who hasn't progressed past this point, is that this person wanders around looking like a paper doll with no clothes on.
So are you betting me or are you opting out, Jen?
I'm not bidding you, but that's my theory. And you can't sit there and be like, well, that's wrong. I'm like, you would know better, but that's not fair. This is my theory.
Put your money where your mouth is, Jen.
Well, I'll bet you 1 yen.
Great, you're on.
All right. You're going to look forward to 0.7 cents.
I'll look forward to you having to find a coin and give it to me.
I have so many of those, dude.
Great. I'm ready.
Okay.
So we get our closing kind of credits style sequence, and we get, I think, the first little, it's like the mascot kind of for Hildibrand. A little baby goblin goes scuttling by.
It's so cute.
And makes a little, the chittering sound and scuttles away again. So that's it, Jen. How you doing?
Fine. Great. How are you doing?
Great.
All right.
Like I said last time, this landed much better than I feared for replaying A Realm Reborn content. And it must, again, have been from...
The way you worded that deeply confused me for a hot second.
Okay.
But
well,
I understand what you mean.
Thank you. Anyway, point being is that I thought this would be a rougher experience going back into the annals of A Realm Reborn, but no, actually, again, this is like some of the best content in A Realm Reborn if you're down for the style of humor it has. And if you're not, then I'm sorry.
I love it.
And the scene, especially with the chase, like that just gives me a huge smile just experiencing that directly.
The animations, the sound effects, it's just wacky. Yeah. It's such a great little break, a great palate cleanser from like the rest of the MSQ. And the facial expressions alone. The Godbert introduction is excellent. Just goldsmith hammers lodged in every fucking beast along this path. And then he's not wearing anything.
And they have been snoozing on this for ages because they have always been dancing around this seat on the Syndicate.
Yeah, that's the first time it's been, I think, said.
Yeah. Because we see Syndicate scenes. We've seen...
Godbert is never there.
Yeah.
He's never there.
Or
he can't
never
be
shown.
There because he's... Like, it's so hard to imagine this person involved with that side of things.
Yes.
It's just not... It doesn't compute. So I can't ever imagine seeing Godbert in a meeting with the rest of the Syndicate in the Fragrant Chamber. I just can't.
That is the dark side.
In his little shorts? Yeah, no.
That's the dark side of this whole thing, which is Godbert is essentially a complicit menace to society, having this seat, but also not being part of all of this social struggle that's going on in the MSQ right now.
I mean, there's probably a reason why we never see him in these meetings. He might just be fucking off all the time and...
Probably, yes.
Like concentrating on his deal.
Yes.
And being like, this is my contribution, all right? My seat is like in name only because I earned it because I'm rich as fuck. So
I think, I can't recall the exact dialogue, but I think this kind of gets brushed over in some of the Make It Rain events where he appears. For those who don't know, Godbert is the owner of the Manderville Golden Saucer. It's right there in the name.
Yeah.
One part of his empire is this massive casino. We are told by the messaging of the game that he's a good guy. We don't want to think of him as a bad person because he is in all of this fun content. He is not anyone who gets involved in the nitty gritty of Old Dawn politics. He's not going to be part of the upcoming drama, period.
He's living in his own reality.
Yes.
And it's clear that he loves his son in a strange way that we can't necessarily relate to, but we can still see the love. And, he has employed hundreds, if not thousands, of Alamegan refugees and other refugees through his casino and whatever, various businesses, whatever. So until proven otherwise, we're going to be like, Godbert's a good one.
Well, I call it more that just like Hildibrand, he is part of the game world, but also kind of separate from the game world.
Yeah.
But same thing for Godbert, where he just is not compatible with the gritty shittiness of the Syndicate, even though he is technically part of it.
Right.
He's just kind of excised from that mess and his own entity on the side.
He's the fucking Willy Wonka of Eorzea.
It's better for everyone if we just don't think about that connection in too much detail.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't think about it.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's great. Anyway, so that's that. Great to finally meet him. I've been dying to bring him up, honestly, when we've talked about Syndicate stuff, because we get allusions to other Syndicate members, but no one has actually named him until now. Just like when we found out that Einzar is Mistbeard, same thing here. We can finally acknowledge this reality.
We're free to discuss him now.
Yes. So that's a relief. Yeah. And yeah, like you said, Jen, perfect introduction for him. Cannot do it better. I don't know how.
Oh, man.
Yeah, absolutely A+. So that is part 2 of Hildibrand.
And that will do it for today's episode. Thank you all so much for listening and being incredible, towering brute duelists and green chickens. And if you want to get in touch with us, you can at podreturnffxiv@gmail.com or check the show notes for our Discord. You can join up and chat about the game, post your glams, post your pets, organize group runs, etc. It's a great group of people. They're very, very nice. So check it out. And we also have our Patreon, patreon.com/podreturnffxiv. And for $1 a month, you get access to all the other stuff that we do, which would be all the seasonal events we talk about. The Final Fantasy XI series, Vana'diel Van Splinter, is published there. And then some other accoutrement, like the tabletop RPG, the card game, etc. That all goes there. So give it a listen. And with that, we hope you enjoyed the episode. Have a good day or night. And we will see you next time.
Pod Return will return in
A case of indecency.